What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the show. Here again with another ToG rankings video. This time we are covering the top 6 fights in the Name Hunt Station arc in Tower of God. Once again, joined by Dr. Bonehead, so make sure you guys are checking out his channel as soon as you are done watching this video, where you can catch the top 6 characters in this arc as well. But without further ado, let's hop right into the video. We have Bomb and Coon, and technically Mr. Helmet Baghead guy, versus Alfine right before they get to the final boss, which would be Elaine. This fight is great because it shows a lot of background, it shows a lot of story to it, as explained by Alfine. Later on, we realize that's when she told Bomb kind of the whole story with it, right? Why Kaiser is the way she is, and how she's probably going to be unchanged in this moment, and then, of course, that motivates Bomb to then save her, right? And fight her, do what he has to do to save his comrades, and all that kind of good stuff. But the fight itself is pretty freaking cool because we get to see Alfine's pretty sweet ability among many sweet abilities in this arc, and that is her Shadow Fox that she gets to use against them. The real kicker with this is that it really can't be harmed in any way, shape, or form, and she uses the entirety of the room as the bowl, something that a lot of anima users can't just do so willy-nilly and easily. So this is a really cool fight, and it really just puts Coon again up at the front with his incredible intellect because he's able to find a way to subvert this ability and find a way around it, utilizing Bomb as his iron hammer, I guess, of course, his silver bullet to a lot of his issues. But nonetheless, it shows again Bomb and Coon's synergy when faced with opponents that for normal folks would be a little bit over the top, a little bit out of their league. Together, they can accomplish anything.
So for number 5, we have Ran versus Hesse. So this fight's really cool because it's one of the longer, more drawn out fights of this arc, and it really gives us insight as to where Ran is as a character in terms of strength and just in terms of what it is he's after here, right? Ran's team is kind of the unpredictable team, let's just say, in this whole arc, right? They come in here and they're, at the beginning at the very least, our focal point into how the Name Hunt Station operates and what it is we can and can't do here. This fight is really cool because it's a really good give and take and back and forth here. We have Hesse sort of dishing it out to Ran at the beginning, and then Ran sort of doing all of his counterattacks, and it ends with him using that great lightning spear ability, and it's just really cool to get to see Ran fight. Anytime these coons get to sort of flex their muscles, so to speak, it's an absolute joy to watch. And again, this fight really giving us an insight on how exactly battles on the Name Hunt Station work. So for those reasons, we had to put it at number 5 on the list.
All right, coming in at number 4, we've got Hotz versus Coon. Now, this fight is relatively short compared to some of the other fights in this arc, but that does not make it any less badass. On the contrary, this fight is one of the most awesome fights in the entire series leading up to this point. Like, for one specific reason, too. It's 2 of our beloved characters on the side of good, or whatever you want to call it, 2 of our protagonists duking it out and kind of trying to low-key kill each other. There's a point where Hotz basically says, all right, I'll have to take off one of his limbs. It's like, dude, what's happening right now, you know? Hotz and Coon have always bickered and kind of hated each other a little bit, especially in the manhwa compared to the anime, and seeing them actually, like, fight is super cool because it comes out of nowhere. They're using all these cool techniques. Coon uses, like, this emerald sword technique, and he's using his dagger and stuff. It's awesome, you know, and it's so cool seeing Hotz come so close to being on Coon's level. You know, considering he's not from one of the 10 families, it's just awesome, and although of course no one gets really hurt in the end, it's one of the most memorable fights of the Name Hunt Station, so it deserves number 4. Alright, and coming in at number 3, we have Ran versus Inietta. Now, if my personal bias was to weigh in on this completely, this might be like my favorite fight of Tower of God. However, considering the Name Hunt Station and talking to the other guys, it makes sense to put it at number 3, which is of course very high. Ran versus Inietta, so memorable. It goes across a few chapters, you know, which is great because Tower of God fights are usually kind of short, so it's really cool seeing this fight continue for a while. And it's just awesome. Ran pops a lightning pill, they're going at it, you know, and Inietta takes a swig of his alcohol or whatever, and they're continuing to go at it. There's flashbacks, and Ran has to take the attacks, because obviously Inietta is from the REA family, and Mashini gave him advice on that a long time ago. It's super cool, and then Ran pops a second lightning pill, which is beyond bonkers, and they basically kill each other. You know, the only reason Ron survives is because Shia and Dan are there to like save him, but then Inuyeta dies. Like, he straight up dies at the end of this fight, you know? How badass is that? Like, it's sad because Inuyeta was super cool, but it makes the fight just so cool. Like, this fight is the art of this fight, like, I can't even fathom. It's just so good. Ron versus Inuyeta, I mean, one of the best fights of Tower of God. It had to be high on this list.
You probably all guessed it already, but how could we not? And that is Elaine / Kaiser versus Bomb. This is one of my favorite fights in this entire series so far. I absolutely love it. And the reason that I absolutely love it personally is because it is Bomb and it is Kaiser. Finn. That's it, right? These two characters have to go head to head. They have to utilize every skill that they have picked up since the beginning to really give it their all and fight with no exterior help. One of my gripes sometimes with Tower of God is the fact that there is this Deus Ex Machina component that sometimes overrides some of the story, in my opinion, where these ridiculously large scale and powerful characters will come down to the level of our protagonist and gang and kind of have their own thing fleshed out, or kind of, you know, push away the villains for the meantime so that our protagonists can do what they have to do, race against the clock, whatever the case might be. And while a lot of times this really works in the story, it was really refreshing for me to see this moment because there was none of that whatsoever. Bomb and Elaine put it all on the line, and we got to see some really, really sweet skills in the process. Elaine's wolf is badass. This is one of my favorite abilities in the entire story, and her 20 threads move is insane. Now, unfortunately for her, she's going up against Bomb, who's just completely built different, so he's able to sense the 20 threads, even being able to cut them at points. It's actually pretty ridiculous how he's able to dodge, bob, and weave, but he has his hands full. He does get bit by the wolf as well. He's pushed back at moments. It's a really back and forth fight. Sparks are flying, but it's not so over the top that it's like nuclear punches and the room's blowing up. It's confined to a room, an arena of sorts, and Kun could really just sit there and watch, kind of commentate like it's a boxing or a UFC fight in that moment, and it's pretty deadpan even. This fight had it all.
Our honorable mentions for this list include the Twin Princesses versus Endorsi and Hotz, and Rak, Iwa, and Danwa versus Inuyeta. Alright, and the number one fight of the Name Hunt Station, I mean, y'all already know what it is, right? Yuri Ha Jihad versus Karaka the Slayer. So I'm gonna just draw on personal experience for just a minute here, because this fight, while obviously being a fan favorite for the reasons I'm about to get into, is one of my favorite fights because it literally blew me away. We had been getting hints at just how strong rankers are, and then that there's high rankers and obviously people even above them. But up until now, the only people that we really get to see fight are regulars, right? And whether they're fighting somebody slightly above or just at their level of power, this is the first time in the story that we get to see two opponents of a high ranker status actually fight. And the result is that they literally create a natural disaster. Just as you have people, all the crew here, Bam, Kun, Endorsi, etc., trying to flee to get out of this station, they literally can't because of the explosions that are happening as a result of the fight between Yuri and Karaka. This fight is absolutely amazing. One, because of the art. SIU 100% delivers with the scale, the spectacle. Watching how all of Yuri's attacks just sort of envelop the panels whenever you get to see them. Karaka with his Flower of Darkness and those metal tentacles that are like flying around. It's absolutely amazing to watch. The way they're like giving it back and forth to each other with these giant blasts of Shinsu. It's really cool. One, because we get to see just how crazy, for lack of a better term, that Karaka is, right? He's willing to go toe-to-toe with somebody like Yuri, who, at least for all intents and purposes, from what we know at that moment in the story and what we learn a little bit later on, he is outclassed, right? He's not hilariously outclassed, granted, and it's not like he could never, ever beat Yuri in a million years, but as that stands in that moment, Yuri is the stronger opponent. But he goes in anyway, and he goes in hard. And Yuri with her nuke fist and her Shinsu Hadoukens, and just the end result, her last attack, which is the hold on, I just want to make sure I get this name right. The Rose Shower. I'm sure I'll have panels up on screen right now. This thing is the literal definition of beautiful and menacing. I mean, it completely envelops the entire station. This fight, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but is spectacle at its finest. And obviously has to take number one on this list. It just has to. There's no other way.
All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed our top 6 fights in the Name Hunt Station arc. If you did, make sure you guys are liking this video. If you are new here, subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos, ToG rankings included, sharing with your friends and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our top 6? Would you have rearranged anything? Is there anything that we missed? Or just gush about some of your favorite fights in this arc. We're really looking forward to reading those comments down below. And lastly, make sure again that you guys are heading over to Dr. Bonehead's channel. If you have not subscribed already, you definitely should be subscribing, where you could catch the top 6 characters of the Name Hunt Station arc today, and the other parts, the other half of our rankings videos every single Thursday. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you next time. Peace.
Ninjas are samurais, blazing the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly. They like what you saying, Goma got more through the storylines. I tested your neck from the start, my hunters gon' come for your heart. I promise you'll land in my boulevard, left them in one piece, no